Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone to our summer camp planning workshop. Tonight, we're going to talk about finding the right summer camp for your child. We'll talk about some funding stuff. We'll talk about some things to consider. Jennifer will be starting the presentation with her stuff, and then we'll go into some of the funding, some camps to look into, dates. And as I said, throw your questions in the chat box, and we'll have a question and answer period after the presentation.
Okay.
Yeah, you're on, Jennifer.
All right. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Jennifer Hughes Jaya. I am the Recruitment and Training Coordinator at the Canadian Mental Health Association. And so today we're going to be talking about how to choose a summer camp program for your child or children, as well as talking about the Supporting Kids in Camp program, otherwise known as SKIC. All right, so we'll get started with this. Hopefully everyone can see that okay? Okay. All right. So in my portion of the my presentation, I'll be talking about why choose camp. What are some of the options, things that you should look for in a camp, and what if your child needs some extra support, and some funding options for it. So first of all, why camp? So first of all, summer camp can provide respite for caregivers. It can provide a fresh start for children. It can give them an opportunity to develop new skills or to practice existing skills. It can give them a little bit of independence, give them a safe environment to take some more risks, meet some new people, make new friends. There are lots of great reasons that you might choose camp. Plus, summer camp is fun. So what are your options? Camps are divided into two main categories. The first are day camps, and the second are overnight or residential camps. So there are some things to consider with overnight camps. So for instance, many residential programs and overnight camps would only accept children 7 and up. They're experienced away from home. So for instance, some overnight camps might only provide, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought, only a couple of nights, or some might run for 3 weeks, and depending on what your child's comfort level is with that. There's also cost to be taken into consideration. Residential programs, they include a lot of different activities, but they also include lodging, 24-hour staffing, and food. So costs will reflect that. And because it's an overnight camp, they provide respite to families. Another consideration is the wait list. So these are very popular programs, so they fill up very early. So if you're interested in an overnight or residential camp, it might be wise to start thinking ahead about that for the summer, as well as your own comfort level with your child spending entire days or a week outside the house, and your own child's interests. So what are some pros and cons of residential camp? So some pros, like we said, provide some respite for the family. They gives them an opportunity to live with others and form some fast and lasting friendships. Some new attachments to camp counselors, lots of different activity options. Some camps choose their staff for mental health or developmental services fields, so there are quite a range of skill sets within the camp counselors. There might be many specialty options, and many camps take children from all over the world, so there is quite a lot of diversity in the campers. Some of the cons that you might want to consider, like we said, is the cost, time away from home, if that is might be something that is difficult. One-on-one support might not always be an option. and the new friends that they make might live further away. So we can pair that with day camps. Day camps tend to be more affordable. There are programs to suit every interest. They are closer to home. They're available for children as young as 3 and up. There's one-on-one support available for most programs. Their new friends will likely be more local, and families may choose several different camps throughout the summer or just one. So there's quite a lot of options that are available. Camps are a lot less likely to have a wait list. And there are full and half day programs available. Some cons to take into consideration are it's more limited respite for families, and a child does not experience the same time away from home as with an overnight camp. So camps are also broken down into specialized programs and integrated programs. A specialized program is designed specifically for children with special needs, and they are sometimes designed for children with 1 or 2 specific diagnoses. They tend to be a lot smaller programs, so they usually hire older staff with much more experience. They don't admit children without special needs, and they have a smaller camper to staff ratio, for instance, like 1-to-1 or 1-to-2. This is in contrast to integrated programs, which are designed for typically developing children. They're usually larger, and they may practice traditional integration or reverse integration. So what are things that you should look for in a camp? So we will talk about ratios, policies, safety, the campsite, the staff support, and other opinions, second opinions from others. So for instance, with ratios, for children between the ages of 3 and 5, the ratio is mandated by the Child Care and Early Years Act in Ontario. For children older than 5, so 5 to 6, the ratio is 1-to-10. For 6 and up, the ratio is 1-to-15. So the typical camp ratio is between 1-to-10 and 1-to-13. Leaders in training are not counted in ratio, neither are supervisors. Specialized camps, which we just mentioned, they tend to have lower ratios. So questions that you can ask the camp when you are looking for a program is, what is their staff to camper ratio? What do they do in the event of a staff illness or a staff being away? And what is the maximum number of children allowed in the program? This is especially important this summer during COVID, because ratios will be affected by cohorts. Sorry, just one second. Are you okay? Okay. Sorry. Ratios are affected by COVID protocols. Each camp would have specific cohorts for their campers, and staff will be considered part of the cohort and within that number. So that's an important question to ask. Other things to consider are policies. So every camp should have a policy about fire, missing children, camper discipline, staff discipline, bullying. Swimming, medication, if campers need medications, expectations for campers, and inclusion. So some questions that you can ask them is to read over their policy manual and ask about specific policies that are important to you and your child. Ask about their inclusion policy, camper expectations or codes of conduct. What happens if a camper does not adhere to that? And if you can read over the code of conduct before registering. And the last point here, again, when we're talking about COVID, this is something that came up last year, is asking about if they have a refund or cancellation policy, which is pretty important as things are constantly changing. So next we're going to look at safety. So things contribute to a safe camp. Activities that are held should be taught by knowledgeable instructors, and ratios, as we mentioned, should be within guidelines. Staff should be a minimum of 15 years old. If they are going swimming, there should be lifeguards that are present. Excuse me. Staff should have CPR and first aid training. Yeah, I see. And a clear criminal record check. Camper information should also be kept confidential, but also accessible in the event of emergency. If camps are going off-site, they should have easy access to telephones and additional support. So questions that you could ask about the credentials of the staff, what training they have, do they carry first aid kits, especially if they're going off-site, how camper information is handled, and accreditation of the program. So when we're talking about safety, especially this year, when we're talking about safety this year, we need to talk about COVID-19. So we, in the SCIC program, we're keeping in contact with camps about what they are planning to do. Camps' plans so far are to offer in-person sessions this summer, and SCIC's role will be to ensure that we are sending our workers into a safe environment. And we would encourage you as parents to ask about camps and their safety protocols this summer, such as the size of cohorts, the cleaning schedules that they have. They might be doing health checks, like a health form that you fill in each day, and temperature checks, etc. And of course, our SCIC program will be following public health protocols, and we will keep parents up to date if anything changes closer to the summer. So when you're looking at the site of the camp, a good campsite has lots of space, including outdoors. If a camp is primarily indoors, they should also have an outdoor space that they visit. If the camp is primarily outdoors, you want to know where they would go in case of bad weather. Residential camps have their own specific guidelines for space. They include food safety, waste disposal, etc. Another consideration is transportation. How easy is it to get there? So some questions you can ask: where it's located, do they offer transportation if it's more remote, how much time is spent outdoors, what they do in case of bad weather, are they wheelchair accessible if that's an important point for you, regulations that they adhere to, and if they go off site for trips, what are their not just like safety protocols, but where they go off-site and how do they get there. The next point is about staffing. So the staff is an important element because they will be spending anywhere from 6 to 24 hours with your child. And happy staff make for happy campers. The average staff turnover for camp is about 50% each year. The lower turnover, the better. Age is important, but it's not the be-all and end-all. Staff should receive a fairly intensive training, about a week on average, and should have some knowledge of child development. All staff should have a clean criminal record check and first aid training, and they should be well supported by supervisors. Some questions about turnover, criminal record checks. Where do they recruit staff from? Typically, they tend to be university students, respite workers, co-op students, etc. What qualities do they look for in a staff? What's included with the training? And what supports are in place for the staff? So in terms of support, some camps offer paid one-on-one support for staff, and some offer volunteer one-on-one support for staff. Most camps will welcome private support workers, and most camps will, welcome supporting kids in camp support counselors or SCIC counselors. So asking questions about what one-on-one support do they offer, how many weeks, is it paid, is it volunteer, what training do those support staff receive, whether you can ideally meet the support worker ahead of time or speak with them on the phone, and if you send a private support worker, are there guidelines for their participation? And especially this summer, support workers will be counted in the cohort ratio, so camps will need to know ahead of time if you're sending your own private support worker with your child. And in terms of second opinion, word of mouth is always a great option. Asking other families what camp programs they have been to and really enjoyed. If your child has heard about programs or their friends have gone, things that are of interest. Cheryl at KidsAbility and other therapeutic recreationists will have some great ideas, and ask the camp if they can provide any references or check for testimonials. So what if your child might need some extra support to attend camp? So we want children to thrive in their environment. We want them to have things that they're interested in and at least a fewer problems. We've talked a little bit about extra support and private support workers or support workers through the camp. It's important for support workers to know that summer camp is a fun, engaging activity, and it involves lots of running, jumping, and singing. We want the support workers to be thoroughly engaged with the children in all of the activities. It's important for families, and we encourage you to be as open as you can with the camp when they ask for information about your child. So the right camp will welcome everything about your child, and the more information the camp has, the better. And Cheryl will talk about this a little bit later tonight. So some of the funding options, SSAH, so Special Services at Home funding, can be used to pay for registration, or Free to Grow through Children's Foundation. So there are a couple of different support worker options that we've already mentioned. So a one-to-one support worker that you hire on your own, or a support worker through the camp or through SCIC. So if you are looking for a support worker on your own, we'd recommend that you start your search early so that you have a chance to interview the individual, get to know them, and make sure that your child is familiar and comfortable with them. And again, make sure that you inform your camp that you're sending a worker. Prior to camp visit, the camp with your child one-on-one. Sorry. If you're using the camp's one-on-one support worker, if possible, request a visit with the one-on-one worker prior to camp. And SCIC, if you are receiving a support worker through SCIC, we will set up opportunities for your child to meet the support worker ahead of time. So things to look for in a worker: what age range are you looking for? What skill set will they need? Are you looking for peer support to help your child engage in social activities? Are you looking for a high level of care, personal care? Is transportation an important consideration, such as is the support worker going to be transporting your child to or from the camp? What skills and interests your child may have, what trainings the support worker might need, when are you looking for support, how much support each week, so the hours, the time frame, and that will determine how easily it is to match you with workers, and how many workers, depending on do you want or need one consistent person, or are 2 or 3 people that could fit the schedule. Is that doable? So for screening a worker, we would recommend a couple of different ways of screening workers. So phone screening, talk to them on the phone, criminal record check, an in-person interview or trial, depending on if that is doable at the time, and a couple of references. There are a few different options that you could find workers, such as community groups, respiteservices.com, high schools, colleges, universities, co-op programs, etc. Once you have hired a support worker, some observations or questions that you could ask during the week of the camp staff. Are they on time? Are they prepared? Are they engaged with the program? Do they connect well with your child and with the program? So sharing information, this is part of the camp registration. Camps will ask you to fill in a one form, and this assists families in camps, and SCIC has one as well. It can be used as a profile for your child to share with camp staff. Families are encouraged to copy this and include with camp registration. So this gives a good overview of information about your child that camps would find useful to help make everything as smooth as possible. A snowflake or an all about me form also gives a quick overview of your child to help the camp leader get to know them. And Cheryl will share some examples about this. So the Supporting Kids in Camp program, the SCIC program, provides children who have special needs with trained and experienced one-to-one workers for 1 week in the summer, so that they are able to attend a specialized or integrated community camp. So if you have a child that is under the age of 18 that meets 2 of the following criteria, you'd be eligible. They have a behavioral, physical, or cognitive challenge. They live in the Guelph, Wellington area, and they're wanting to attend a day camp, and they need extra support for successful inclusion. So here are some of the camps that we have worked with in the past. So for the application, in order to apply for SCIC, you would choose a camp program for your child and register for that program. Then you would come to the SCIC website, which I'll give later in the presentation here, fill in the online application, and you would choose your top 2 weeks that you would like support for. You will, through SCIC, children are only eligible to receive 1 week of support, but we ask parents to select their top 2 weeks and return the one form to the program coordinator, myself. And then I will talk to the camp. If they are a program that we haven't worked with before, I will double check that they have a philosophy of inclusion, and then I will contact you regarding your acceptance. So in conclusion, there are several different support worker options. If you're sending a support worker, make sure you are in communication with the camp. And we would encourage you to provide as much information as you're comfortable sharing with the camp about your child, and that will help for a smooth transition and successful camp experience. So for more information, you can contact Cheryl or myself. I'm, like I said, with CMHA. My emails are down there. It might be easier to remember the SCIC at cmha.ca. And I hope everyone has a great summer.
Okay, we are going to go into the next part of the presentation. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, just give me 1 second, I think. Okay, so as far as the summer camp planning, I'm just going to make sure. Okay, so what I'm going to talk a little bit more is about the sharing information, the All About Me form. I will be talking about a little bit more details into funding. And I will go into where to find some camp information, registration dates, and hopefully give you a little bit more information on where you can find stuff. Oops, sorry. As far as sharing information, Jennifer talked about this a lot. We really believe at KidsAbility that the more information a camp has about your child, the better they can that your child will be set up for success. So I know SCIC has the one form. This is something we recommend that parents fill out for any recreation program that you go in. And so you're basically, I'm going to show you this, you're basically going to create a form that talks about if your child has sensory considerations or you want to let them know how to communicate, things that motivate them, and then give some strategies. So you have to imagine that when you register for camp, it often goes to the coordinator. This is something that goes to the person working with your child. And So you don't have to repeat your story all the time. You can have this one-page handout. Here's an example. I do know this fills the screen a lot. This is Annie, and so this would be what a completed form looks like. I did send a copy of instructions as well as 4 samples in the email that I sent out with the Zoom link. So a lot of families come to myself, one of the recreation therapists at KidsAbility, and talking about funding. We break our funding down into 2 options. So we have our first funding we're going to look at tonight is our income-based funding. And so, and this is obviously due to your family's income, whether you qualify or don't qualify. So some camps have their own subsidy program, so it's definitely worth asking the camp you're interested in if they have funding. In Guelph, Wellington, Free to Grow is the main one of the main places you can go for funding. They have a maximum amount per calendar year of $400, and it's done on a first come, first serve basis. What they have told me when I've chatted with them is that they actually do break it into seasons so that it's not like, okay, everyone that's going to do spring programs would get their funding and there will be nothing left for summer or nothing left for fall. So even if you apply for summer and you don't get it, don't not apply for the fall. The other one is the County of Wellington, Children's Early Years Division. And so again, you need to be a resident of the County of Wellington. It's based on your family income and your need for childcare. So this is for children up to age 13, and that is the website to get that funding. The other place you can look at for funding is the Jumpstart, and this is through the Canadian Tire. This does have to be a camp that is physically active. So they provide, you can apply for up to $300 per season or $600 per year. The other one, if your child is over the age of 18, the city of Guelph has a funding option called FAIR. So those are the funding options you have that are income-based, but there are funding options that are not income-based. So we call these more your disability-based funding. So many families have your special services at home funding. Their calendar year goes April 1st to March 31st. So you can definitely use this year's funding to apply for and pay for summer camps, as well as dip into the next one. So depending on what you're looking at. The special services at home funding can be used to pay for the camp as well as pay for the worker. Many families have the autism childhood budget. And I know some camps qualify for that. If you are using your autism childhood budget, just make sure you communicate with the camp that it meets the criteria set out for the autism childhood budget so that you don't get a surprise when you submit it and your receipt doesn't say the things that you needed to use that dollars. Autism Ontario has a funding option. It is done by a lottery, and I apologize, it's not a Waterloo region. I see I didn't change that. So it's not for Waterloo region. You can definitely apply to anyone in Ontario, and you have an option to get those dollars. Through Carrie's Place, there is the Children's Respite flexible funding. The information and the due date is not posted yet, so I would encourage you to keep looking at their website if your child has autism. And again, due to COVID, those dollars are delayed. That information is delayed in getting out. If your child has cerebral palsy, you can look at applying for the LEAF funding. And again, they will cover up to $400, which can be used to cover the cost of a camp or to hire a support worker. If your child has muscular dystrophy, there is also funds through the Muscular Dystrophy Canada. And again, they will cover up to $400, which can be used to cover the cost of summer camps or physical support workers. So when we're talking about, so Jennifer talked about the SCIC program. I'm going to just highlight a few camps that have their own one-on-one. The city of Guelph does hire inclusion facilitators that you can apply for a one-to-one to work with your child. And so what you do for any of the city of Guelph camps is you would register for your camp, and then you would apply. So you apply, register for your camp, and then you're going to add the one-on-one support for that same camp, fill out the questionnaire, and then you will complete your registration and pay. So it's a two-step process as far as finding the camp you want, enrolling for that, applying for the one-on-one, and then paying for the camp, filling out the forms and paying for the camp. So that is what we're trying to do, is allow you to get more than 1 week. So SCIC will provide you 1 week one-on-one, but often families want more than one-on-one. So the city of Guelph has one-on-one, and I believe you're allowed to have a few weeks with the city camps with that one-on-one. The YMCA, the Guelph YMCA, which is now in the umbrella of the Y of the Three Rivers. So it's Guelph, Cambridge, Kitchener, Waterloo, and Stratford. Their link does say the Cambridge KWY, but as they've recently amalgamated all the Ys into the Y of Three Rivers. So the Y has a formal process now to ask for an inclusion facilitator with their Y day camps, so not their overnight camps. They have Y camps and outdoor locations, as well as Y camps at their on-site at the Y location. So you need to create an account in Camp Brain. You select the day camp that you want to register for, and there you will see a box for inclusion support. So if that is an option still in the camp you're wanting, it will come up as an option. You select that, you complete your forms, you pay for your camp, and you get a registration. You are limited to 1 week within the Y camps for an additional one-on-one. The other camps that I know have inclusion support programs are your Rainbow Day Camp, your Camp Brief, which is an overnight and a day camp. Your Hidden Acres, it's a little bit further away, but they have an overnight and a day camp option where they have the one-on-ones. And again, obviously, we talked about SCIC. So if you're looking at maybe having 4 or 5 weeks of camp and you need a one-on-one, definitely look at applying for one-on-one from SCIC, as well as looking at some of the other camps that have inclusion facilitators or one-on-one staff available, as well as the option of hiring your own. It's a bit of a different summer for all of us this year, as registration dates vary. The SCIC registration will open April 1st. And I'm going to go into a little bit now where I know what registration dates are, just to give you an idea. So Camp Brief registration is open now. And again, they have day and overnight camp options. They offer one-on-one support. The Bulldog Interactive Fitness registration is open, and I know they are a SCIC partner. The YMCA of Three Rivers, which includes the Guelph Y, registration is open now. So if you're looking at that to get your one-on-one for they had their outdoor camp, day camps open first, and they were putting a hold on their indoor. So I'm not 100% sure if that's opened up yet, but I know their outdoor camps are open up. Bellwood Lodging Camp is an overnight camp. They do not have a one-to-one program, but they are specific to children with disabilities, and their registration is open. The Hidden Acres, which has a day and an overnight camp, which is just outside of New Hamburg. Their registration is open. I have included the Engineering Science Quest, so it's the ESQ camp. It's with the University of Waterloo, only here because it's a virtual camp this year. So if your child really likes the sciences, it opens tomorrow, that registration. Rainbow Camp is another camp that has their own one-on-one. Their early registration opens March 1st. what their early registration is for families with children that are requiring support. So you get to register first, and then everyone else gets to register on March 21st. The City of Guelph camps register March registration opens March 12th, so there you can apply for your city camp as well as get there one-to-one. And the Township of Center Wellington registration is going to open early May. Not a lot of information on their website yet, but I did speak with Bruce there, and he said they're definitely targeting early May for the registration. There are a lot of other camps that I know families in Guelph Wellington use and have enjoyed. They are all planning at this point to offer some in-person camps. They just are not sure when the registration is open, and it's not listed on their websites. Carrie's Place for sure is only doing virtual camps. So some of your other camps are at your University of Guelph, so your Creative Encounters. The other one is a Griffin Activity Camp, so they are also SCIC partners. Your Laura Center for the Arts, your Sunrise Therapeutic Riding. With the Sunrise, what they're going to fulfill their people that registered for 2020 first, and then they will open it up to anyone else if they have spaces available. Play Sense is hoping to offer a camp this summer, but again, they're just making sure they can meet everything with COVID. Many of the Guelph Neighborhood Association groups are definitely planning to offer day camps. Their websites, it's just not reflected yet on their websites. And I see I have Camp Sunrise on here twice. The other thing that I've added a little bit of a separate one is for our teen and young adults. This is a pressure point for families. So once your child hits age 13 and they still need that kind of support, we're looking at what kind of camps are available. So the Rainbow Day Camp registration opens March 8th, and they have camp up to age 17. City of Guelph has a specific camp for teens called Youth on the Move. Registration opens, that should be March 12th, not May. And then I know if you want to go outside of Guelph, you can look at the AIM, your Camp Pride, your Hidden Acres, Sunbeam. The City of Kitchener has a teen one, and so does KW Hab and Community Living. Because this is a real pressure point for families, we are doing a camp fair specifically for for families that have kids age 13 and older. And that will be tomorrow night on Zoom at 7 p.m. So one of the big questions that we always get is, where do you find, or where can I find information? So in the past, KidsAbility has always had what's called our KidsAbility activity guide. That is no longer published, but we have included camp information on our website. And I'm going to take a few minutes after to show you where that is located. New this year, we have done our camp fair. So and I have a little bit flyer on that one, but basically our 13 plus camp fair is tomorrow. And then the Guelph Wellington age 4 to 12 camp will be next week on Tuesday. Obviously, the city is a big provider of day camps. Guelph neighborhood groups are big providers. Your Township of Center Wellington, your YMCA. SCIC on their website also has an inclusive recreation directory, and Ontario camps. What you need to understand this year is things are changing very quickly because of COVID, and people are not necessarily getting all the websites up to date. So you may have to do a little bit more digging this year to get the information, but most camps are planning a day camp. So again, I talked a little bit about our camp fairs. And so tomorrow night, we're having our day camps for teens and young adults. And then next week, Tuesday, March the 2nd, will be the day camps for the age 4 to 12 for Guelph and Wellington. So a little bit more help that you can get from KidsAbility. We have what's called a summer camp planning email distribution list, which is the information you would have received from us last week. And so that is how we try to communicate with families. You will stay on that list until you tell us you want to get off of it. You can book an appointment with myself. So if you find navigating the whole situation confusing, or you're a first time camp user, or your child has a lot of complex needs and you're not know where to start, you can book a consult with me and we will go over summer planning and specifically what you're looking for your child. Okay, so I am going to stop this share and go into a little bit about our website. Just give me 1 second while I do that. So on the KidsAbility website, you can just search camps up here. But if we go into services and we go into our program services, under the C button for camps, this is where you'll find our camp directory. And so in the camp directory, and this is currently being built. So here's our summer camp directory. You will find all information about overnight camps. So when I click on this one, what we do is we say the name of the camp, where it's located, who it's for, what kind of format. So Jennifer talked about this. If it's an integrated, specialized, a little bit of a description, what their ratios are, if they have one-to-one, when registration opens, and their website. So we're trying in one place that you can find all the information about overnight camps. The day camps in the effort to get the information up, and this will continue to be updated. As we know, right now it's a PDF and it's in the same format where we talk about inclusive camps in Guelph, Wellington, and Waterloo region. So again, we'll say the name of the camp, where it's located, their website, and the information here. So an email, a phone number, so that you in one place can try to find that information. I'm just going to, go back to our website. It's not easy to jump around sometimes. So give me 1 second here. So the other thing you will find on our website is this a tab called Camp Information. And in this tab of Camp Information, we will list KidsAbility camps, but this is where you'll see the posting for where we'll host a video of this workshop. This is also where you're going to eventually find the videos of all the camp fairs that we've had so far. There will be a Guelph Wellington tab added here with some step-by-step information, a place you can find all the links to the funding, as well as spots you can find the one-on-one support. So we are trying to get all of the camp information we're talking about in one location on the website. So that will end our formal part of the presentation. I am going to stop the recording and then we'll open the floor up to any questions.